The Home Minister Amit Shah has sparked the NRC debate again in Rajya Sabha. The centre says it will implement the NRC nationwide, a national register for citizens across the country, extending it to all states. The Home Minister has said that the government will in fact identify illegal immigrants staying in any part of the country and deport them as per international law.
NRC अभी जो आसाम के अंदर है, आसाम एकॉर्ड का एक पार्ट है, मगर सबने सदन में राष्ट्रपति महोदय का भाषण सुना होगा और जिस घोषणा पत्र के आधार पर सरकार चुनकर आई है, वो घोषणा पत्र का भी हिस्सा है। देश की इंच इंच जमीन पर अवैध प्रवासी जितने भी रहते हैं, घुसपैठिए जितने भी रहते हैं, इनको हम आइडेंटिफाई करने वाले हैं और इंटरनेशनल कानून के तहत इनको डिपोर्ट करें।
Well, in this conversation, to help us understand this a little better, Gopal Agarwal of the BJP, Mr. Kailash Vasudev, Senior Advocate with the Supreme Court. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We also have Prasanta Barua, who is the Executive Editor of the Assam Tribune, who joins us as well. I want to start with Mr. Vasudev. Mr. Vasudev, the government has now announced that the NRC, the deadline for which in Assam expires on the 31st of July, the NRC will be extended to the entire country. Do you see this as a good thing or a bad thing?
Good evening. You see, NRC is a view which started in 1951 with the first census. Over time, we dropped it, we didn't pursue it. Not having it pursued it, we have now landed up in a situation where with our secular democratic norms, we have invited people to come and stay in this country and protect them from anarchy. We tried to pass the Citizens Amendment Bill in 2019, which didn't go through the Rajya Sabha, which sought to give protection to the minorities from 3 countries, Afghanistan, Bangladesh and Pakistan, to settle in our country. This is where the anachronism comes in. You are welcoming people from foreign countries to come and settle here, and you're asking foreigners staying here without authority to leave the country. These are 2 aspects which you'll have to consider. We now have a situation where an announcement has been made on the floor of the House and has to be respected, that we will eliminate or throw out people who don't belong to India and who are staying here illegally, in accordance with international law. We are signatories to the UNHCR declarations. We have also taken decisions to protect these people, and we've encouraged these refugees since 1971. Bangladesh says they are not Bangladeshis, we don't accept them. The Rohingyas were here, we managed to do something about it, but we couldn't do much. The need to restore India to Indians is a very good idea. It's like the Americans saying we want to restore America to the Americans. Implementation is where the problems will arise. Other countries will have to accept the fact that we are sending them people of their origin, may not be their citizens. Supposing they say no, these are problems which are going to be insurmountable in the long term of this whole situation and will have to be done in a very measured way because you are dealing with international relationships and our own failure over the past 40, 50 years to stop this infiltration into our borders. These are issues which have to be addressed, they have to be looked into, and the sovereignty of our country has to be preserved in this area, which is vital because today we are finding that the number of people coming into India is becoming enormous. Anybody who's troubled in his own country wants protection here because of our democracy. Democracy, yes, but democracy for our people, not democracy for those who are coming here for protection. Protection gives you limited rights. You're not giving a permanent right of residence in our country. So you'll have to balance both sides of it, look at it, and then take steps because the numbers are going to be humongous. Whether you're looking at the Northeast, and if you look at an all-India pattern, it's going to be even more massive. Some kind of a decision will have to be taken. Yes. Some kind of arrangements and bilateral treaties will have to come in.
Yes, I just want to bring in Mr. Gopal Agarwal of the BJP. Mr. Agarwal,
a very practical view which I'm trying to present to you.
Yes, Mr. Agarwal, is there a timeline with the government right now, the Home Ministry at this point, of when it wants to bring in the NRC for the entire country? And does this mean, and I'm asking you this question as a citizen, does this mean, all of us will have to prove our parentage or our domicile, we'll have to prove that we're truly Indian? Is that what that means?
The problem is that we start the debate by assuming certain things and then start debating on those things.
Okay.
The thing is, it is not the BJP government is not saying that we will bring the NRC for the whole nation. Every citizen of this country will have to enter into his national citizenship register.
Okay.
NRC in particular structure and law is for the bordering states. And it has at present has been implemented in northeast area and Assam and other areas. The rest of the places, what Mr. Amit Shah has said is that illegal immigrant, whether they are staying in Delhi, Karol Bagh, Pahalganj or in Mumbai, they will be deported. It is not that the NRC will be implemented here. It is illegal immigrants anywhere staying in the country will be deported as per the international laws. And now I object to the second previous panelist has said that they will be eliminated. These illegal immigrants will be eliminated. Who has said that they will be eliminated? What do you mean by eliminated? Will they be killed or thrown into the sea? It is these kind of debates don't lead
I
to anything.
I believe you might have misunderstood what Mr. Vasudev was saying.
Illegal immigrant is a national.
No, Mr. Vasudev, do you want to clarify your point?
No, he said they will be eliminated.
No, you might have misunderstood. Mr. Vasudev, go
I
ahead.
never said.
And that's.
I'm not using eliminated in the matter of termination of life.
These kind of words
I'm using
create
eliminated in the
confusion.
sense.
Later on.
No, Mr. Vasudev, please, go ahead.
Then think of it correctly, Mr.
Yeah, I am just clarifying your point
Please.
that nobody.
No, I would have never even
The
thought.
second thing is this NRC.
Go ahead, I'll answer you.
No, this NRC is not to be, this law in itself will not be implemented across the nation. Faye, you are saying that everybody will have to register, prove his lineage, prove his parentage.
No, I'm asking.
Who is going to go for NRC for 130 crore population of the country?
That was my question.
We have to be very clear. I am now clarifying
Please
what our stand is. What is?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so what I am telling you is, it is there in our manifesto that we will, this Assam Accord, NRC is a part of Assam Accord which was signed in 1971 and it is under the implementational process of the Supreme Court that our government is implementing, and it is the demand of those local people and it is required for national security and particularly on the bordering states where there is an illegal immigration. And if anybody has to answer these difficult questions, it is the previous government. And why they allowed this kind of illegal immigration?
I have a couple of questions for you.
Policy under which they allowed and made them a vote bank for themselves.
Okay, I have one second. Mr. Agarwal, I have a couple of questions for you, please, if I may.
Going into the politics.
Yes, Mr. Agarwal, I have a couple of questions for you of clarification alone, after which I'll bring in the other two guests. My first question of clarification is, and it has said, the Home Minister today said the centre will identify these illegal immigrants living in every inch of our country's soil and deport them as per international law. So my first question is, what is the method of identification? Yes. What is the method? One second, allow me to ask the question, please. Allow me to ask the question. What is the method of identification that the government will use? My second question is this. Now, it was also said by this government that they will remove all infiltrators except Buddhists, Hindus and Sikhs. So will this removal or categorization of illegal immigrants have a religious subcategory in it? Will there be a religious subcategory? Two questions. Mr. Agarwal, go ahead.
This is what is being said about the Buddhists, Hindus and Jains is particularly with regard to Assam Accord, where there are the persecution of Hindus is taking place in Pakistan. At the time of independence, there was 31% Hindu population in Pakistan. Now it is less than 2%. So what happened to that population? So if they have been thrown out, they have been persecuted, is it not our responsibility to save them? Not responsibility that we should. So it is the question of those who are asking for a refugee status, definitely they will get through whatever the legal process is. But coming out through a subvertive measure, coming out with coming as an illegal immigrant cannot be allowed. Even you see European Americans, are they allowed?
So what happens? Okay, Mr. Agarwal, what happens? No, you haven't fully answered my question. No, Mr. Agarwal, please. The question was simply this. You said you will find illegal immigrants in Delhi and in Mumbai and in Lucknow. My question is this. How will you find an illegal immigrant in Delhi and Lucknow? What paperwork will they have to submit to prove the fact that they are legal? Secondly, if the person is Hindu, Sikh or Buddhist, will they be exempted?
For anybody proving, those people who want to prove your citizenship, want to get your passport, there are documents which are required. How you prove your citizenship, when newborn, everybody now after 1992, birth certificate is compulsory. All these documents required for proving your citizenship is there in the legal systems. You have to prove it. Those who are under the, there are some indications where there is some doubt on anybody's citizenship, that they can be asked to produce that. So these are the procedure. Then otherwise you want to say that we should not go for any identification of illegal immigrant.
Well, I just want to point out that okay, all right, Mr. Agarwal. All right, Mr. Agarwal. Let me bring in the other guests as well.
By the previous government.
Okay. I just want to point out. No, I just want to point out one thing. Please.
The implementation is complicated. It is complicated. We will not let the take care of national security. And we will not allow all illegal immigrants to become the citizenship of India.
Okay. Nobody wants you to compromise national security.
The demographic
change. I just want to point out. I just want to point out that even in the city of Bangalore, there are citizens of Nepal who have Aadhaar cards, PAN cards and voter IDs at this point. So what documentation are we going to use? I don't know. But I'm going to give Mr. Kailash Vasudev an opportunity to just clarify his stand when he said elimination and also to respond to what Mr. Agarwal has said. Mr. Vasudev, these things are overlapping at this point. Citizenship bill, NRC, illegal immigrant and the classification of what all of this
I understand.
Go ahead, please.
In the first instance, let me clarify, the expression elimination used by me was to send them back or repatriate them to their own country. I have not come to a situation in my life when I can even suggest the elimination of even an ant. On the second issue, with regard to the procedure to be followed, you see what has happened between 1971 and date, and even with regard to the implementation of the Aadhaar principles, the PAN card, the driving licenses. We've had so much bureaucratic failure that everybody's been able to procure these cards. We find that coming in from Bengal, we find that coming in from the Tamil Nadu area because of the LTT people who came in '84. You find that in the Bangladeshis who have come in, you find it from across the border, all over the place. So therefore, when these people are holding valid Government of India identity cards, how are you going to establish that they are not there? In the Supreme Court order asking upon the government of Assam to look into this, a very large number of people, after a very tedious exercise under the supervision of the Supreme Court, have been found to be illegal immigrants. I think they run into a couple of lakhs now. Having had found that there are a couple of lakh illegal immigrants, the next question is how do you deal with them? How do you send them back to the country of their origin? These are the issues which I'm trying to raise before you. You must find a way out first that you're going to take a process. After you implement a process, how do you go about executing the whole system? Because you've got to send these people back. They're not here in your country. Now, please don't use the word executing as by saying something else. Executing means giving effect to a particular finding. That's the law. So you've got a process in place. Very good. Find them out. But how do you send them back?
Faye.
Yes. just one
Supposing
second.
the other country
Yes.
says we don't accept them, they're not as citizens.
Yes.
What are you going to do?
Yes, I have one more guest. One second, Mr. Agarwal.
That's
I
my
just want to bring
question.
in, yes, I want to bring in Mr. Prashant Barua, Mr. Prasanta Barua, who's been listening very patiently. And I just want to also point out that my skepticism with this whole business of we will check this document and that document is that in Assam, there was this case of a Kargil war veteran who had served in the Indian army for 30 years being declared an illegal immigrant and being incarcerated. He was actually put in one of these camps, and it was only after the story broke in the media and he was given help by, by lawyers from Delhi that he was actually released. So if that's the quality of the checks that is being done, one starts to really worry. Mr. Barua, good evening. My other question to you is this. The deadline for the NRC now expires on the 31st of July, from what we understand. 42 lakh people in Assam have been affected by floods, and it's likely that their documents have been washed away along with their homes and all their belongings. Do you think this deadline is going to be very, very difficult for a lot of people to meet?
Yeah, good evening. I'll deal with your second question first. Yeah, you are very correct that with the very intense flood that is affecting the Assam today, people are facing a lot of hardship, and most of their houses and dwellings have been submerged under water. And it is also significant that the claims and objections process is also underway, and people are facing a lot of difficulties in pursuing their claims and objections, I mean, in the NRC Kendras because of the floods. So now the Assam government has already approached the Supreme Court, not on the plea of the floods, of course, but they are asking that they are calling for 20% verification of the border districts which has witnessed a large-scale increase of population during the last 2 decades. But so far, the Supreme Court has not heard that petition yet. In case of the Sanaula case, the Indian Army personnel who was declared a foreigner and was confined to the detention camp, the official version is that Mr. Sanaula failed to prove his citizenship. The documents he submitted before the NRC officials, there were a lot of anomalies in the documents he submitted, which resulted in the interpretation by the NRC officials that he could not prove his citizenship, and hence he was forwarded as a declared a foreigner. But also it's surprising why Mr. Sanaula, as an army personnel and also of the official rank, could not establish or assert his Indian citizenship or his long service as an army personnel in the nation. So that is also some of these surprising factors to this case here. So in the coming days, I think the picture will be clear whether the deadline of July 31st for final declaration of the NRC will be whole, or it might be extended by the Supreme Court, which is monitoring the whole process.
All right. I want to quickly go back to Gopal Agarwal. Gopal Agarwal, you had a point to make after Mr. Kailash Vasudev clarified his stand. Go ahead.
I would like to say 2 things. One thing is, in principle, whether the country should allow illegal immigrants to stay in the country or not, one thing. Second point is that the problems of identification and implementation of this process of identification, deportation, complex laws, international laws, refugees, all these things are implementational issues. Definitely there are questions on the implementational issues, but principally BJP has a very clear position that illegal immigrant are a national threat and they should not be allowed in the country. On the implementation level, there are questions, we have to resolve them. But the third point I would like to mention is, if somebody has a valid Aadhaar card, if he has a passport, he has a voter card, and nobody is saying that still he will be deported because I feel that he is an illegal immigrant. So if he has documents, that itself will prove he is a citizen of this country. Somebody challenging his citizenship will have to prove it otherwise in the court. These documents are fake. So there are established practice. We have a legal system. We have court of justice. We have courts. Government is taking. So simply cannot somebody say that these are fake documents. So these will be established. I don't think it just because the implementational complications, we should just continue with the practice of allowing illegal immigrant. It was failure of previous government, and and not only failure, administrative failure, it was a calculated vote bank politics which allowed to flourish this kind of activities.
All right.
Particularly in northeastern areas, it was a vote bank politics. We have to identify.
Which you're solving
if
now.
we just ignore this fact, we are not going to come to the correct conclusion.
Okay. Vikram on the phone line from Guwahati. Vikram has just called us. Vikram, go ahead.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening to all of you. I just wanted to offer a rebuttal.
Yes, go ahead, please. We can hear you.
Good evening to all the panelists there. Good evening to all of you. I just wanted to offer a rebuttal to the gentleman representing the BJP. First of all, the Assam Accord was not signed in 1970, it was 1985. And this thing which is happening today, and the ground reality is that there are Indian citizens born in India, Indian nationals, who don't have an Indian passport or an Aadhaar card, but there are illegal migrants who have come across the border who have passports, Indian passports, Aadhaar cards, everything to prove that they are quote-unquote bona fide Indian citizens. That's number one. The BJP still hasn't got over its election hangover and is promising that they are going to implement the NRC across the Indian population, which is 133 crores, when they haven't been able to do anything for the 3 crores of the population of Assam. That's a laughable situation. They're making tall promises, and completing this by the end of July is...
No, so I don't believe that the idea is to complete it nationwide by the end of July. The nationwide is just a search and a hunt for illegal immigrants and a deportation of illegal immigrants. Last word by Mr. Kailash Vasudev. Mr. Vasudev, go ahead.
See, you just heard the case of the gentleman from the army who was kept in custody or in the camps because he was found to be an illegal immigrant. Look at the dichotomy. He joined the army because he was an Indian citizen. Today, an inquiry reveals that he is not an Indian citizen. When he joined the army, he must have presented documents to show that he is a citizen of India. If he was not a citizen of India and procured these documents, do you see the massive failure on the part of governance to control our own systems in granting documents which are improper or improperly procured? If he's an Indian citizen, there's a very serious doubt about the functioning of the authorities who are now trying to come to conclusions that somebody is or is not a citizen of India. If you have this kind of a situation where people holding valid documents join the Indian army, you have now compromised two things. Your own system, you've also compromised your safety and security, because an army man is a man who defends your security. I am personally unable to understand as to what system is going to be followed and what documents are going to be followed. Hearsay is not going to help because I've got official documents. You will have to, and I repeat, you will have to be very, very particular. And you must initiate action against all those people who are responsible for issuing either Aadhaar cards or passports or documents of identity or voter cards to all these people who are not Indian citizens and are now deemed to be Indian citizens because they're holding official documentation. Is someone going to be put on the stake for violating his duties and responsibilities in giving documents which are not supposed to be given to those who don't receive, are not entitled to them?
Yes. That's a very...
This is a matter which has to be looked into at some point of time. You have cases of bogus Aadhaar cards, bogus passports, bogus licenses. The word bogus came to stay. You had bogus PAN cards.
Yes.
And lakhs of them.
And Aadhaar
what
came
action
in
did you take to eliminate those people?
Yes.
Eliminate the passport, the PAN cards? Sorry, I won't use the word eliminate. I'll be caught on a wrong foot. To get rid of the bogus PAN cards and to take action against those who have given these cards
mindset.
by misusing authority.
All right.
Please tell us.
Yes, so that's very well said. And we're going to leave it here because we've run out of time on this story. But while no one questions that illegal immigrants must be, that illegal immigration is a bad sign for our country, that it affects the country's health and it affects our national security. The question is, how will this be implemented? What documents will be asked for and looked at, and what procedure will be followed? As quite rightly Mr. Kailash Vasudev pointed out. Also, as far as Assam is concerned, and the deadline of dealing with the NRC, the floods have set a lot of people back in terms of when your house is washed away, it's likely your paperwork was washed away as well. And one would appeal to the central government to also pay close attention to those people who might have lost their homes in the flood. Speaking